She looked me in the eyes, in front of a crowded restaurant, and said the words that froze me in place. Sometimes, I wonder if leaving Calvin was a mistake. My fiancé, admitting she regretted leaving her ex for me. My heart dropped, but my mind sharpened. And in that very moment, I knew one thing. Our wedding was never going to happen. Before I tell you how it all unfolded, the betrayal, the fallout, and the justice that followed, make sure to hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Trust me, you'll want to weigh in on this one. The sound of forks clinking against plates suddenly felt deafening. I could see the waiter freeze mid-step, my friends looking at me with wide eyes, and the entire room hanging on those words. My fiancée Erica sat across from me, her glass of wine trembling slightly as she tried to mask her nerves with a half smile. But the damage was already done. I felt my pulse pounding in my temples, the air thick and heavy, like I was drowning in plain sight. She hadn't just thought it, she'd said it, loud enough for people around us to hear. A public admission that I wasn't enough, that she still longed for the past. My throat tightened, but instead of reacting with anger, I leaned back in my chair, staring at her, as if she'd just revealed a side of herself I had never met before. It wasn't just embarrassment. It wasn't just shock. It was betrayal, layered with humiliation, and she didn't even realize the gravity of it. She laughed nervously, tried to brush it off like a slip of the tongue, but I knew better. People don't say those things unless they've been brewing beneath the surface. Memories of our engagement, the months of planning, the sacrifices I'd made to make her happy, they all flashed through my head, now tainted with her confession. And as I sat there in silence, she grew restless, fidgeting with her napkin, asking if I was mad. But it wasn't anger I felt, it was clarity. Because in that moment, I realized this wasn't the first sign. It was the confirmation of something I had been sensing for weeks. And if I had ignored it before, I couldn't anymore. What she didn't know was that my decision had already begun forming, and the storm that was coming would leave her reeling. Long before that night at the restaurant, little cracks had already begun to show. At first, I brushed them off as stress, as nerves about the upcoming wedding. But now, looking back, they weren't small at all, they were signs. Signs that Erica's heart wasn't fully with me. It started with the phone, late-night messages that she claimed were from her maid of honor. But the way she tilted the screen, shielding it from me, told another story. The quick swipes to clear notifications, the way her smile would falter when I walked into the room, it all left a bitter taste. I didn't press. I told myself trust was stronger than suspicion. But trust only works when it's mutual. Then there were the hesitations. Whenever I spoke about our future, buying a house, starting a family, even just planning the honeymoon, her answers grew vague, non-committal. She used to light up when we dreamed together. Now she looked away, as if she'd lost her vision of us. And each time she pulled back, I filled the silence with hope, convincing myself she was just tired, just overwhelmed. But the deepest cut came one afternoon when we ran into an old friend of hers, someone who knew her ex. The conversation was casual until his name came up. Calvin. I saw it in her eyes. A flicker. A spark. The kind of reaction you can't fake. Her laugh was louder, her posture straighter, her cheeks slightly flushed. It wasn't just nostalgia. It was longing, buried, but alive. I told myself I was imagining it, that every couple has ghosts from the past. But the truth was sitting right there, staring me in the face. She hadn't fully let go. And I was the one she had chosen to bind her future to, while still holding on to someone else behind closed doors in her mind. That's when I realized love without certainty is a fragile thing. And once I saw that fragility, I couldn't unsee it. Still, I wasn't prepared for just how brutally that fragility would break in the one moment she decided to say out loud what I had only feared in silence. After that night at the restaurant, silence became the loudest sound in our home. Erica tried to smooth things over, offering excuses, claiming she was just overwhelmed, that her words had been twisted by nerves, by the pressure of everyone listening. But once words are spoken, they can't be unspoken. And the look in her eyes when she said she regretted leaving Calvin, that wasn't nerves. That was truth slipping out when she thought I wouldn't notice. I tried to carry on as if everything was fine. The wedding invitations had already been mailed. Families were making travel plans. Deposits had been paid. Outwardly, we looked like the perfect couple, still marching toward the altar. But behind closed doors, the cracks spread wider. Conversations turned shallow. Intimacy faded. Even laughter, something we used to share without effort, felt forced, hollow. At night, I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, her breathing steady beside me. I'd picture her smile in that restaurant, how free and unfiltered it had been when she confessed in front of everyone. I couldn't shake the thought that she wasn't lying then, she was lying now. And every time she said, "I love you" afterward, it sounded like an apology instead of a promise. The weight of pretending grew unbearable. Friends asked about wedding details, and my chest tightened with every answer. I caught myself scanning her phone when she left it on the counter, searching for proof, for evidence that Calvin was still lurking in the shadows of our story. I found nothing concrete, but her emotional absence was proof enough. Doubt doesn't need evidence. Doubt is its own kind of poison, and it was seeping into everything. I wasn't just doubting her anymore. I was doubting myself. Had I been the fallback option all along? Was I the safe choice after a messy breakup? The guy she thought could heal her but never truly filled the hole he left behind. The closer the wedding drew, the further apart we drifted. I wasn't just planning a wedding anymore. I was planning an exit. And when that exit came, it wasn't quiet. It wasn't private. It was a decision that shook not only Erica, but everyone who thought they knew our story. The day it all snapped wasn't dramatic at first glance. It was a Sunday afternoon. Sunlight poured through the windows, glinting off the ring on Erica's finger as she sat across from me, scrolling through bridal magazine. She was circling gowns she'd never wear and highlighting flowers that would never decorate our aisle. And I was just staring, not at her, but through her. I'd been living with a storm in my chest for weeks. Anger, hurt, betrayal, all swirling so violently I thought it might rip me apart. But that afternoon, something in me went quiet, too quiet. Like the eye of the storm had finally arrived, and with it came clarity. I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. The thoughts settled over me with terrifying calm. I can't marry this woman. Not because she confessed something in a moment of weakness, but because she revealed who she truly was. If her heart still lived in the past, how could our future mean anything? I set down the coffee mug in my hand, the sound sharper than I intended. Erica looked up, smiling, expecting me to comment on some centerpiece design. Instead, I said, "We need to talk." Her smile faltered. She must have sensed it, the weight behind those words. I told her I couldn't ignore what happened at the restaurant, that her admission wasn't just embarrassing, it was revealing. I told her I deserved to be someone's first choice, not the man they settled for because the other option hurt too much. Her eyes filled with panic. She insisted she loved me, that Calvin was just a ghost, that I was twisting things out of proportion. Tears streamed down her face as she begged me not to end things, her voice cracking with desperation. But I'd already made my choice. I wasn't cruel. I didn't yell. I didn't throw accusations. I simply told her it was over and that I would be calling off the wedding. Her sobs followed me out of the room, echoing in my ears as I walked away. And yet, for the first time in weeks, my chest felt light. But here's the thing. Calling off a wedding isn't just walking away from love. It's detonating a bomb in the middle of two families, two lives, and a future everyone assumed was certain. And once I dropped that bomb, the fallout was immediate and brutal. The announcement spread faster than wildfire. Within hours of my decision, word had leaked first to our families, then to friends, and eventually to nearly everyone who had RSVP'd to the wedding. The shocked reactions poured in like a flood. Some were whispers, others were full-blown confrontations. Her parents were the first to call. I'll never forget her mother's voice, sharp, trembling with fury. She accused me of humiliating her daughter, of destroying her reputation, of being impulsive and cruel. I listened silently, letting her venom coat the line, and when she was finished, I said only one thing. Your daughter told the world she regrets being with me. I won't marry into regret. Then I hung up. My own parents were gentler, but the disappointment was still there. My father asked if I was sure, if I was ready to live with the consequences of walking away at the final hour. I told him I was more ready for that than to live a life as someone's second choice. There was a long pause. Then he said, "Then stand by your choice, son. Don't waver." The social backlash was brutal. Friends divided into sides. Some reached out quietly, telling me I'd done the right thing, that no man should marry someone who still mourned another love. Others ghosted me completely. And some, those closer to Erica, painted me as the villain, the heartless fiancé who abandoned her over just a slip of the tongue. But here's what they didn't see. Behind closed doors, Erica wasn't the victim she pretended to be. She sent me dozens of messages, swinging between apologies and fury. At first, she begged long paragraphs about how Calvin meant nothing, how I was her future, how the public confession was just a misstep. But when I didn't respond, her words turned sharp. Suddenly I was ungrateful, paranoid, pathetic for throwing everything away. Her last message still rings in my ears. You'll regret this. When you realize no one else will ever love you the way I did. But instead of breaking me, those words solidified my decision. Because what she called love was nothing more than convenience. She had chosen me not because she truly wanted me, but because I was safe, dependable, predictable. And the moment she admitted otherwise, everything shattered. And yet, what no one expected was how I would respond next. I wasn't going to just walk away quietly and let her control the story. If she wanted to make me look like the villain, I was prepared to show everyone the truth of what happened, and to do it in a way that left no room for her lies. And that's when I decided, if she had humiliated me in public, I would return the favor, but I would do it with precision and on my terms. I realized something the moment the dust settled. Silence wouldn't protect me. If I didn't speak up, Erica's version of events would become the truth. She had already started painting herself as the victim a poor fiancé abandoned just weeks before the wedding. If I allowed that to stand, I would forever be branded the cruel, heartless man who left her without warning. But here's what she underestimated. I had receipts. Over the months of our engagement, Erica and I had exchanged thousands of messages, private conversations where she confessed her lingering doubts about Calvin, her reckless comparisons, her endless complaints about me not being spontaneous like he was. At the time, I tried to overlook them, convincing myself it was just insecurity, just wedding stress. But now, those very words were my arsenal. I didn't want revenge in the form of shouting matches or petty insults. No, I wanted precision. I wanted to dismantle the illusion she had built, to show everyone not just what she had said at the party, but the pattern that led to it. So I started carefully piecing everything together. Screenshots of her messages, dates and times when she accidentally reached out to Calvin, even the photos she had liked on his social media just weeks before our wedding. At first, it felt cold and calculated, but as I compiled it, I realized I wasn't just protecting myself, I was exposing the truth. The question was, how to reveal it? Confronting her directly would be pointless. She'd deny it, twist it, cry until others pitied her. I needed to bypass her entirely. That's when the idea came to me. If she humiliated me in public, then the same stage she used to break me would be the stage I'd use to end her facade. So I waited, patiently, quietly, while everyone whispered, while her family tried to shame me, while she played the role of the abandoned bride-to-be. I sharpened my weapon, the truth itself. And then, the opportunity presented itself. Our joint engagement party that her parents refused to cancel, insisting it would serve as damage control. They wanted to reframe the story, to show the community that Erica was still the victim and I was the villain who had wronged her. They begged me to attend, to show maturity, to end the drama gracefully. Little did they know, I planned to attend, but not for reconciliation. I would walk into that room with a calm smile, a steady voice, and the truth in my hands. Because if she thought I'd quietly fade away, she was about to learn what it felt like to be exposed completely, undeniably, and irreversibly. The night of the engagement party arrived, but instead of the nervous excitement I once imagined, there was only a heavy calm in my chest. I knew what I was walking into, an ambush disguised as celebration. The decorations, the music, the smiling relatives, all just a stage, and I was about to flip the script. When I entered, the room shifted. Conversations dipped. Eyes darted toward me, some full of pity, others sharp with judgment. Erica's parents were quick to plaster on forced smiles, as if nothing had happened. Her father even clapped me on the shoulder, whispering, "Let's just move past the drama, son." I nodded politely, though inside I was coiling tighter and tighter, ready for the strike. Then I saw her. Erica stood at the center of the room in a dress that screamed bride without the veil. Her laughter was a little too loud, her smiles a little too wide. She was performing, desperate to reclaim the spotlight she'd lost. But when her eyes landed on me, for the briefest second, I saw panic. She hadn't expected me to show up. The speeches started soon after. Her mother raised a glass and spoke about forgiveness, second chances, and how love conquers all. Guests nodded sympathetically, clearly primed to see me as the stubborn man who couldn't let go of a minor slip-up. Erica followed, thanking everyone for their support during this challenging time, and hinting that I was struggling with trust issues. That was my cue. I stepped forward, glass in hand, and the murmurs fell into silence. My voice didn't waver. "You're right," I said. "Trust is everything in a relationship. And once it's gone, no amount of decoration or speeches can bring it back." I reached into my jacket and pulled out a slim envelope. "Since we're being open tonight, I think everyone deserves to hear the full truth." Gasps rippled as I laid the printed messages on the table. Pages of her own words. Her late-night confessions about Calvin, the doubts she had voiced, the regrets she had never hidden from me, only from everyone else. I didn't need to embellish. The evidence spoke louder than anything I could say. Her face drained of color. The room buzzed with whispers, guests leaning in, eyes scanning the words that betrayed her carefully curated image. Her father's hand trembled as he tried to collect the papers, but I calmly stopped him. "No, let them see. They deserve to know the woman I almost married." Erica opened her mouth, but nothing came out. No tears, no excuses. Just silence. The silence of someone caught in their own web. And as I stood there, steady, collected, I realized this wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about liberation, mine. But what happened next? No one in that room could have predicted. The silence after my reveal stretched like a taut wire, ready to snap. No music, no clinking glasses, just whispers, curling through the room like smoke. I could feel every pair of eyes on me, then shifting to Erica, then back again, searching for who they should believe. But the papers on the table left little room for doubt. Her father was the first to break. His booming voice, once filled with confidence, now cracked as he demanded an explanation. "Erica, what is this?" He waved the pages, his face flushing red. Her mother reached for her arm, urging her to say something, anything, but Erica's lips trembled, her defenses finally stripped away. And then came the real sting. Family, friends, relatives, even co-workers began muttering, shaking their heads. A cousin whispered too loudly, "Imagine humiliating him like that and expecting to still marry?" A colleague of her father's leaned closer to another guest and muttered, "If she can betray him before the vows, what kind of wife would she be after?" The judgment wasn't mine to deliver anymore. The crowd had taken it from me, and their verdict was merciless. Erica's mask cracked. The confident, smiling fiancée who had worked the room minutes earlier was gone. She stumbled through a weak excuse about being confused and misinterpreted words. But it only made things worse. The words were written in her own hand. The doubt, the longing, the regret. It was undeniable. Her father's shoulders sagged as if a weight had been dropped on him. He looked at me, but this time, with something close to respect. "Son," he said, softer now. I had no idea." The irony was sharp. A man who once pressured me to be good enough for his daughter was now quietly admitting she had failed the test. Not me. But the real turning point came when Calvin's name entered the room. Someone asked, "Is she still seeing him?" And the rumor spread like wildfire. Erica's silence was answer enough. Her cheeks burned crimson, and I realized then that even if she tried to salvage this night, it was already ruined beyond repair. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't gloat. I simply lifted my glass one last time and said, "Consider this my farewell toast to honesty, something I never got, but will demand from now on." Then I placed the glass down, steady as stone, and turned to leave. Behind me, chaos erupted. Erica's sobs tangled with her parents' frantic whispers. Guests excused themselves, slipping out as if the room itself had turned poisonous. The party meant to celebrate our union had dissolved into a public trial, and she was the only one left standing in the ashes. And as I walked out into the cool night air, I felt no guilt, only clarity. The kind that comes when you finally see someone not for who you hoped they were, but for who they truly are. But little did I know, the real storm was only just beginning. The party was over, but the echo of that night didn't fade, it multiplied. By morning, the story had spread far beyond those ballroom walls. A cousin posted cryptic updates on social media, hinting at a wedding that would never happen. Within hours, whispers turned into open discussion. Friends messaged me privately, half in shock, half in admiration, saying, "You handled it with class. She deserved that." Erica, though, was living a very different reality. What had once been her carefully cultivated image, polished, admired, envied, was unraveling thread by thread. People who once fawned over her now kept their distance. Her bridesmaids began dropping out one by one, some quietly, some not so quietly. One even texted me directly, confessing she couldn't stand by someone who humiliated you like that. Her family's standing wasn't spared either. Her father tried to control the narrative, insisting it was all a misunderstanding, blown out of proportion. But no one bought it. Too many eyes had witnessed the truth. Too many ears had heard her own words. Denial only made the scandal worse. And then there was Calvin, the ghost in the story. Rumors swirled that Erica had reached out to him after the party, desperate to rekindle what she had admitted to regretting losing. Whether or not it was true didn't matter. The fact that people believed it was enough to finish whatever sympathy she might have clung to. For me, the days that followed were surreal. Some expected me to lash out, to feed the drama. But I stayed silent. I went to work. I met friends. I moved on, at least on the surface. But inside, I was processing the wreckage, realizing how close I had come to tying myself for life to someone who never truly valued me. And that realization wasn't painful. It was liberating. Erica tried reaching out, calls, texts, even showing up at my door once. I didn't scream or slam it in her face. I just listened as she begged, cried, and promised she could change. But the words felt hollow now, stripped of meaning. The image of her standing on that ballroom stage, confessing her regret to everyone, was carved too deep into memory. And so I made the choice that would define everything. I called off the wedding, not in private, not hidden. I issued a simple, direct statement to friends, family, and the vendors. The wedding will not move forward. No details, no accusations, just the truth, clean and undeniable. The world reacted for me. Some said I was brave. Others said I was cold. But deep down, I knew I had finally reclaimed my power. What I didn't expect, though, was how far the ripple would spread and how Erica would react once she realized she had lost not just me, but the life she thought she deserved. When the announcement went out that the wedding was officially canceled, the silence that followed was louder than any applause. Some people didn't know what to say. Others didn't have to because the truth had already been spoken by Erica herself on that stage. Her perfect fairy tale had collapsed, and the wreckage was hers to carry. Vendors demanded refunds she couldn't provide. Guests whispered about her behind closed doors, the same ones who had once toasted to her happiness. Even her parents, desperate to salvage their reputation, stepped back, leaving her to face the consequences alone. I, on the other hand, felt lighter than I had in months. For the first time, I wasn't waking up with the weight of doubts or the gnawing fear that I wasn't enough. Instead, I was free. Free from a marriage built on lies. Free from being someone's second choice. Erica tried one last time. She stood outside my apartment late at night, tears streaking down her face, her voice shaking. She begged me to reconsider, to forget what she had said, to remember the good times. But the truth is, once words are spoken, they can't be pulled back. Her confession wasn't a mistake. It was a window into her soul, and I saw it clearly. She didn't love me for who I was. She loved me for what I could provide, for the life she thought I represented. I looked at her, calm, steady, and said the words that ended everything. You made your choice. The moment you admitted he was still in your heart. Now, I'm making mine. I closed the door. And for the first time in this whole ordeal, I felt peace. News spread quickly. Some branded her as selfish, others as tragic. But for me, it wasn't about what they thought of her. It was about what I finally thought of myself. Strong, worthy, and unwilling to settle for anything less than real love. Revenge doesn't always come in the form of grand gestures or public spectacles. Sometimes, the sweetest revenge is simply walking away with your dignity intact, while the one who betrayed you is left to drown in the mess they created. And that's exactly what happened. Erica lost me, her standing and her fairy tale, and I walked away untouched, ready to begin a future that was truly mine. Because in the end, justice wasn't about humiliating her further. Justice was about reclaiming my voice, my pride, and my freedom. And I did. So let me leave you with this. What would you have done in my shoes? Would you have called off the wedding too? Or tried to forgive? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories like this, because sometimes the most powerful revenge is simply choosing yourself.